The smoke was still rising from the broken alien ship. Captain Elias walked slowly through the ruins, his gun ready, his eyes sharp. The air was filled with dust, heat, and silence. It had crashed only hours ago, shot down during a short battle in the outer zone. He had been sent alone to check for survivors or technology, but he didn't expect to hear a sound like that. It was small, soft. A cry. Elias stopped. The sound came again. It wasn't metal groaning. It wasn't wind. It was a child. A child. Crying, he moved fast, pushing aside twisted metal, stepping over broken wires. His heart beat faster. The cry was coming from deep inside the ship. Carefully, he stepped into the broken hull. The walls were glowing faint blue, still warm from energy. Lights blinked weakly. Then he saw her. A tall alien woman was lying on her side. Her skin a soft silver blue, her arm around a tiny figure. Her body was shaking. She tried to lift her head, but failed. Her eyes were wide and frightened. And next to her was a child, a little alien girl, no older than 5, with glowing purple eyes and small soft ears like folded wings. She was crying quietly, hugging her mother. Elias slowly lowered his weapon. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said in a calm voice. The woman tried to speak, but coughed instead. Blood ran from the corner of her mouth. She looked at Elias with fear and hope. "Please, help her," she whispered. Elias looked at the child. The girl looked at him, scared but curious. She was shaking. Her clothes were torn, and there was a deep scratch on her leg. Elias moved closer. The woman flinched, trying to cover her daughter with her body. Elias raised both hands to show he meant no harm. "I'm here to help," he said again, softer this time. The woman blinked slowly. Then, using all her strength, she lifted her daughter toward him. "Take her," she begged. "Please, take her. Make her safe." Elias was stunned. "No," he said, "you both need help." But the woman shook her head. "They will come. They will kill her. They will not stop," she whispered. "You're human. She'll be safe with you." Elias didn't know what to say. He was a soldier, not a father, not a hero. But the way the woman looked at him with full trust, with full pain, he couldn't look away. He gently took the girl in his arms. She was light. She trembled, but did not scream. Her small hands gripped his shirt tightly. "Mommy," she whispered. "I'll help her," Elias promised. He placed a medical patch on the girl's leg, then turned to the mother. She tried to sit up, but collapsed. "No, don't move," he said. Kneeling beside her. "I'm not strong anymore," she said. "But you are." Elias pulled out a healing injector from his kit and pressed it gently to her side. It wouldn't heal everything, but it would stop the bleeding. The woman gasped, her eyes fluttering. "Thank you," she whispered. "My name is Soraya." "Elise," he said. The child looked up at him again. Eyes, though full of fear, held something else, to something pure. "Papa," she said. Elias froze. Soraya smiled weakly. "She doesn't understand. But she feels your kindness." Outside, thunder rolled in the distance. The weather was changing, and Elias knew others would come soon. Maybe soldiers. Maybe scavengers. He had to move fast. He picked up Soraya in one arm, holding the child close. In the other, as he stepped out of the wreckage, rain began to fall. In that moment, Elias knew everything had changed. He had come here on a simple mission, but now, in his arms, he carried a family, a broken one, a lost one, but a family. And somehow, it was now his ... The rain fell harder now. Elias ran through the broken forest. Branches snapping under his boots, water soaking through his armor. In his arms, the little alien girl held on tightly. Her tiny hands clung to his uniform. Her head Buried in his chest, behind him, Sariah groaned softly. She was still weak from her injuries. He carried her carefully, one arm under her back, the other under her knees. But even in pain, she kept whispering to her daughter in her native tongue. Calming her, they reached a hidden cave Elias had found during a previous patrol, small, dry and hidden behind thick trees and a rock wall. He placed Sariah gently down on a flat surface and wrapped her in a thermal blanket. Then he set the girl down beside her. The girl didn't move. She looked up at him with wide eyes and reached again for his hand. Elias hesitated, then gave it. She gripped it tightly, even. When she sat down next to her mother, she didn't let go. Hours passed. Elias built a small fire using emergency heat blocks. He gave Sariah water and fed the girl a protein bar, which she nibbled like a small animal. Her name is Leary, Sariah said quietly. She doesn't talk much to strangers. Elias looked down at the girl. Leary, who was still holding his hand. She doesn't see me as a stranger, he said, trying to smile. Sariah gave a weak laugh. She thinks you're her father now. Elias blinked. What? You rescued her. You protected her. In our culture, a child remembers that forever, Sariah explained. To her, you are family now. Elias didn't know what to say. He had just wanted to finish his mission and return to base. But now, everything felt different. This little girl, with her glowing eyes and small hands, had wrapped herself around him literally and emotionally. Later that night, when the wind howled outside the cave, Sariah finally rested, her breathing slow and even. But Leary didn't sleep. She sat close to Elias, her head leaning on his side, her tiny fingers still wrapped around his. Why won't she sleep? Elias asked gently. She's afraid, Sariah said softly, eyes half closed. She thinks you will disappear when she wakes up. Elias looked at the child. Her body was small, but her fear was big. He could feel it. I won't leave, he said, more to himself than to her. By morning, the rain stopped, but danger hadn't. Through his earpiece, Elias heard human patrols were sweeping the area. They were searching for survivors and alien fugitives. He had no time. If he stayed here, they'd be found. We have to move, he said, helping Sariah sit up. I can walk, she whispered, though her legs shook. Elias helped her to her feet. Leary stayed close, her hand still in his. They walked slowly through the forest. At one point, Sariah slipped, and Elias caught her. I'm sorry, she said. You don't have to be, Elias replied. You're stronger than you think. And you're kinder than I thought humans could be, she whispered. After a few miles, they reached a quiet valley. Hidden inside a supply bunker, Elias had built a small survival shelter long ago. It wasn't big, but it was safe. He let them inside and locked the entrance. There, finally, Leary let go of his hand. Only because she saw food. Elias handed her another bar. She smiled for the first time. He looked at her, really looked. Her skin was soft blue like her mother's, her hair dark with tiny stars shimmering in the strands. She looked alien, but her smile, that was universal. As Sariah rested on a cot, Elias sat nearby, watching Leary draw shapes on the wall with her finger. She lost her father in the first raid, Sariah said suddenly. Elias turned. I'm sorry. He died protecting us. But in the end, we were still hunted. Sariah looked at him with tired, honest eyes. When I saw you, I thought you'd kill us. But then, you took her in your arms like she was your own. Elias remained silent. I don't ask for love, Sariah said. I only ask, if I don't make it, take care of her. Elias looked at Elira. It. The girl looked back and smiled again. He nodded slowly. I'll protect her, he said. I promise. Sariah closed her eyes, a tear rolling down her cheek. It was not a deal. It was something deeper, something unspoken. The bunker was quiet. Outside, wind blew gently through the valley, but inside, there was only the soft breathing of a child and the silence between a human and an alien woman, who had both lost everything. Soraya sat on the edge of a thin cot, staring at nothing. Leary was asleep, curled up in Elias's military jacket, one tiny hand still reaching toward where he sat nearby. Elias finally broke the silence. "You never told me why they were hunting you," he said. Soraya didn't look at him. She just spoke in a soft voice, one full of weight. "I was never supposed to be on that ship," she said. Elias waited. "I was supposed to stay behind and die with the others. That was our law." That made Elias turn to her fully. "What?" Soraya looked at him now. Her silver blue eyes were calm but sad. "I come from a noble bloodline. My people lost the war, but before that, we had rules, honor codes. Our leaders were expected to stand their ground and die when captured or defeated. Running away, ... It was the worst shame." Elias frowned. "But you didn't run for yourself." She nodded. "No, I ran for her." She glanced toward Leary, still, sleeping peacefully. "I begged my bodyguard to help me escape. We stole a transport ship. Only 3 of us made it off the planet, me, Leary, and a pilot. We were shot down days later. The pilot died. My guard died saving me from the fire." Her hands trembled in her lap. "I've broken every law my people believe in. I'm not just a fugitive, Elias. I'm a traitor in their eyes. A noble who ran. A mother who chose survival over honor." Elias leaned forward slowly. "And you'd do it again, wouldn't you?" Soraya looked up sharply. "Yes," she said. 1,000 times. For her. Elias didn't say anything for a moment. Then he nodded. "You're not a traitor. You're a mother." She looked surprised at his words. No one had called her that in kindness before. Not since the war began. Soraya looked at Elias with something new in her expression. Not just gratitude, but trust. "You risked your life to save a stranger," she said. "That's rare, even among my people." Elias sighed. "Maybe I've seen too many people suffer. Maybe I'm just tired of war." He looked over at Leary. "She smiled at me today. That shouldn't be possible after what she's been through." "She's stronger than me," Soraya whispered. Elias looked at her again. "No, she's strong because of you." Soraya smiled. Softly, her head lowering, she wiped a tear away without shame. Later that day, Elias checked his comm device. His team had left the area. No one was searching now, but it was only a matter of time before patrols returned. He turned back toward Soraya. "You can't stay here forever. I know a smuggler. She owes me a favor. She can get you off-world. A safe colony. Somewhere far from the front lines." Soraya looked up. "You'd help us escape?" Elias nodded. "Yes," but her eyes didn't shine with hope. "You won't come with us," Elias hesitated. "I'm still a soldier. If I disappear, they'll come looking. I can help you both now. But then you'll go back to war," she said. He didn't answer. He didn't have to. That night, after Leary had fallen asleep again, Soraya sat beside Elias by the heater. She held a strange object in her hand. Small silver charm, shaped like a star with 2 small wings. "What's that?" Elias asked. "A bond token," she said. "It's given by a mother when she wants someone to watch over her child." She looked at him, her eyes glowing in the dim light. "In my world, it's sacred. We give it only once." She held it out. Elias didn't move. "This isn't just a thank you," he said slowly. "No," she whispered. "It's a request. A wish, if something happens to me, raise her as your own. In my people's eyes, she would belong to you." Elias looked at the charm. It sparkled in the firelight. He closed his hand around it. "I'll take it," he said, "but only if you promise to stay alive." Sariah smiled. "I'll try." In that quiet moment, between war and survival, between duty and heart, something invisible changed between them. They were no longer just a soldier and a refugee. They were becoming something more, something like family. The night was quiet. Too quiet. Elias always listened to the world around him, the hum of nature, the shift of wind, the smallest sounds out of place. That's why, when the forest outside the bunker went still, his eyes opened instantly. Sariah and Leary were asleep on the far cot. The little girl's head rested on her mother's chest. Sariah's hand protectively cradled her daughter. Even in sleep, Elias stood slowly. Something was wrong. He picked up his rifle and moved toward the small scanner by the entrance. The device showed movement, but it wasn't human. The heat signatures were different, larger, more fluid. His heart sank. Not soldiers, aliens, and not Sariah's people fleeing the war. These were hunters. He rushed back to Sariah and gently shook her shoulder. "Wake up," he whispered. "We have company." Sariah's eyes opened wide in 1 second. She had trained for this kind of moment. She sat up, holding Leary close. "Who is it?" she asked. "Not human. 4 of them, coming fast." Sariah went pale. "They found me, my own kind." She stood up, wobbling on weak legs, but her hands were already reaching for Leary's boots. "They are bounty seekers," she said. "They don't care about law, they care about reward. My people put a price on me, and her." Elias checked his rifle. "Why would your people do that? You're not a criminal." "I am to them," she said. "A noble who broke tradition. A mother who ran instead of dying with pride." She looked at him, her voice shaking now. "They'd rather erase me than let the story of my survival spread." Leary opened her eyes. She saw her mother afraid and knew something bad was happening. "She, sweet one," Sariah whispered. "Stay with him. Do what he says." Leary reached out and grabbed Elias's hand again, like she always did when scared. Elias nodded. "I've got her." The first explosion hit the outer door. Elias cursed under his breath. He had a few seconds. He placed Leary inside a hidden crawl space under the floor, handing her a soft blanket. "Stay here, no matter what you hear," he said. "Don't move until I come back." Leary looked terrified, but she nodded. Elias closed the hatch. Then he turned toward the main door. Sariah stood beside him. Her hands were empty, but her eyes were hard. "I'll face them with you," she said. "You can barely stand. I will stand for her." Elias didn't argue. The door burst open in fire and smoke. 4 tall figures stepped in dark armor. Glowing masks, weapons shaped like curved hooks. They looked like shadows pulled from a nightmare. One of them stepped forward. He looked at Sariah, then removed his helmet. He had silver skin like hers, but his eyes were full of ice. "Princess Sariah," he said coldly, "you should have died with honor." Elias raised his rifle. "She's not going anywhere." The alien soldier looked at him with disgust. A human. "She hides behind a lesser creature." Elias didn't flinch. "She survived. You didn't like that? So now you came to kill her." The alien sneered. "She's a shame to our blood. Her daughter is unclean. We are here to purify the name of the house of Al-Khail." Elias's jaw clenched. "Then you'll have to go through me." The alien raised his weapon, but Sariah stepped forward, lifting her hand. "No," she said. "This ends with me." Elias turned. "What are you doing?" Sariah looked back at him with calm eyes. "If they kill me, they'll leave. They don't care about her without me." Elias shook his head. You said you'd stay alive. I promised to try, she whispered. But if I fail, you promise to protect her. The alien leader took a step forward. Elias reacted without thinking. He fired. The energy bolt hit the alien in the chest. He flew backward, slamming into the wall. The room exploded into chaos. The other hunters attacked. Elias moved fast, using cover. Aiming with precision, Soraya grabbed a fallen weapon and fired to her training as a former royal guard returning in full force. Within minutes, it was over. The last hunter fell to the floor, armor cracked, weapon dropped. Elias stood over them, breathing hard. Blood on his cheek. Soraya leaned against the wall, her shoulder bleeding. You're hit, Elias said. I've had worse, she replied, smiling weakly. He rushed to her and held her steady. You still owe me that promise, he said. I know, she whispered. I'll keep it. I have to. Elias opened the floor hatch. Lir, I was inside, curled into a ball. Silent tears on her cheeks. He lifted her out gently. I told you I'd come back, he said softly. Leary hugged him tightly. Papa, she whispered. Soraya reached out for her daughter. Leary hugged her next, pressing her face into her mother's neck. Together, all three sat on the floor, surrounded by smoke and silence but alive. Soraya looked at Elias. They will send more, she said. Then we'll be ready, he answered. She smiled, but in her heart she knew this human was more than a protector now. He was becoming her home. The fire crackled softly inside the bunker. Elias sat beside it, staring into the flickering flames. His left arm was wrapped in bandages, and a faint bruise bloomed across his cheek. Across from him, Soraya rested with her back against the wall, her eyes closed, but not asleep. She hadn't spoken much since the fight, but the room wasn't silent. Leary was humming, a low, soft tune, with no words, just a melody passed from mother to child long before war and death came into their lives. She sat in Elias's lap, her tiny hands playing with the patch on his jacket. Her head rested against his chest like it had always belonged there. She had stopped calling him stranger. She now called him Papa. At first, Elias didn't correct her. Then, he didn't want to. Soraya opened her eyes and watched them. Her daughter looked peaceful again, safe. She hadn't seen Leary smile like that since the old days before the attack, before the fire, before the escape. And now she smiled in a human's arms, not with fear, but with trust. She's bonding with you, Soraya said quietly. Elias looked at her. Is that bad? No, she whispered. It's what I prayed for. I just didn't expect it to happen so fast. Elias gently ran his hand down Leary's back, comforting her as she snuggled deeper into his chest. She's brave, he said. She didn't cry once when I cleaned her leg wound. She learned that from me, Soraya said with a soft smirk. We don't cry unless it matters. Elias smiled too. That's a good rule. The next day, the bunker felt smaller. It wasn't just the space, it was the weight of the decision ahead. Elias called his smuggler contact through an encrypted signal. The woman on the screen, a rough trader named June, owed him from an old mission. You've got a mother and child alien, she asked, raising an eyebrow. That's dangerous business, soldier. They need out, Elias said firmly. No questions, just a quiet exit. June whistled. You're really getting into this hero thing, huh? I'm not a hero, Elias said. I just can't turn away from them. June looked at him for a moment and nodded. All right. I'll arrange pickup in 2 nights. Meet me at drop point Omega 12. No mistakes, no noise. That night, Elias and Soraya sat side by side as Leary slept peacefully between them. 2 nights, Elias said. You'll be free." Soraya didn't answer right away. She looked down at Leary. "She thinks we're already safe," she said. "But freedom doesn't mean safety. Not without someone like you." Elias frowned. "I'll get you to a place where no one can hurt you." Soraya turned her head toward him. Her voice was soft, her eyes serious. "And then, will you forget us?" Elias didn't know how to answer that before everything had been clear. Rescue the mother and child, get them to safety, go back to duty. Simple, but now, Leary called him Papa and Soraya. Her eyes didn't just hold pain anymore. They held something deeper. Later that night, Leary woke up crying from a nightmare. She couldn't speak, just sobbed and shook, whispering her mother's name in broken alien words. Elias rushed over and picked her up. He sat in the corner, rocking her gently, whispering calming words. "I'm here, I've got you. No one's going to hurt you." She clung to him like she would disappear if she let go. After a while, the crying stopped. Her breathing slowed. Her small hand held tightly to his shirt, and Elias. He felt something crack open inside his heart. This wasn't just protection. This was fatherhood. Soraya watched from her bedroll, tears silently falling from her eyes. Not from sadness, from something she hadn't felt in years, hope, the next day. Elias taught Leary how to whistle. She failed a dozen times, but kept trying. He clapped when she finally made a soft note. She giggled, then ran to Soraya shouting, "Mama, I did it." Soraya hugged her and looked over Leary's shoulder at Elias. "You've given her a future," she said. Elias looked down. "I think she's given me one too." As the sun dipped low behind the mountains, Soraya walked to Elias outside the bunker. She stood close, quiet, thinking hard. Finally, she spoke. "In our culture, when a child chooses someone as Bond's father, it's considered sacred. Not even blood can break it." Elias met her gaze. "And she chose me." Soraya nodded slowly. "She did, and I didn't stop her." She held out the small silver token, again the same one from before. Elias took it, no hesitation this time. "I'll protect her," he said. "Always." Soraya smiled, not with sadness, but with something warm. "You already are." The sky over the valley was dark. Storm clouds rolled in slowly, like silent shadows preparing for a quiet war. Inside the bunker, Elias finished packing the last of the supplies. Food rations, water tablets, medical gear. Blankets tonight, they would leave. Soraya sat quietly in the corner, brushing Leary's soft hair. The little girl hummed her new favorite sound, a shaky but proud whistle Elias had taught her just yesterday. Soraya smiled at the sound. But her eyes didn't smile. Not really. She was thinking of something else, something deeper, something she hadn't dared to say. "Until now, Elias," she said softly. He turned. "Yeah." She stood slowly, walked closer, and placed Leary gently on the cot. The child instantly curled up and began to doze off. Soraya looked at him. Her hands were steady, her voice calm. But her heart pounded in her chest. "There's something I want to ask you," she said. "Not because I need safety, not because I owe you, but because I want to choose, not beg." Elias set the bag down. His eyes met hers. "I'm listening." Soraya took a slow breath. "In my world," she began, "we don't form partnerships. Only through love. Sometimes we form them through choice, through action, through protection." Elias tilted his head. "Is this about Leary?" "No," she said. "This is about me." She stepped closer. "You've been more than a soldier to us, or more than a protector. You're the only person who has treated me like I'm still a person, a woman, a mother, not a war prize, not a mistake." Elias's breath caught. He wasn't sure where this was going, but he didn't want it to stop. Soraya reached into her small pouch and pulled out a different object to smooth. Blue crystal. This is a vow stone, she said. It's part of an old tradition in my family. When a woman offers this to someone, she's asking not to be protected, but to be claimed. Elias blinked. Claimed, not as property, she said quickly. As equal, as chosen. As partner? He stared at the glowing stone in her hand. It felt heavy in the air. Though it weighed nothing, Soraya took a step closer. You don't have to say yes, she whispered. But before we leave tonight, before we go into the unknown, I want it. You two know how I feel. Not because you saved me, but because you stayed. The room fell quiet. Only Leary's soft breaths filled the space between them. Elias looked down at the stone, then at Soraya. Then back at the little girl, asleep on the cot. He walked to the window, staring out into the cold forest beyond. Then, he finally spoke. I've never had a family, he said. Never thought I needed one. My life was about orders, missions, saving others. He turned back to her. But this last week with you and Leary, it felt more real than anything I've done in years. He reached out hand, closed his hand around the stone. Soraya's lips parted in quiet shock. You don't have to say anything, she whispered. I just did. He replied. They stood in silence for a long time. Then she stepped forward, slowly resting her forehead gently against his. It was not a kiss. It was something older than that. Something steeper. Something sacred. The moment ended when a warning signal blinked red on Elias's comm. June's voice crackled through the speaker. Elias. Bad news. I've got movement in orbit. It's not my ship, it's patrols. Multiple looks like someone leaked your location. Elias cursed. Pull back. We'll find another route. No time, June replied. They're already near the valley. You've got 20 minutes tops. Soraya's eyes went cold. She picked up her daughter quickly. I'll run if I have to, she said. Just tell me where. Elias was already loading his weapon. We're not running. We're moving fast, quiet, smart. They left the bunker and slipped into the shadows of the forest. Elias guided them toward a hidden ravine. One he'd used for silent exits in past missions. As they ran, he held Leary in his arms. The girl didn't cry this time. She whispered, Papa's here. Soraya ran beside them. Strong despite her pain. They were not running from danger anymore. They were running together as one. They reached the ridge just as ships flew low over the trees. Lights flashing like angry eyes. But they didn't stop. They had each other, and Elias knew. Whatever happened next on whatever planet they reached, this bond could not be undone. Not by war, not by blood, not even by death. The stars were clearer than ever from the cliff's edge. Elias could see them on millions of tiny lights scattered across the dark sky, shining silently above a world that had tried to take everything from them. But tonight, they had won something. Back a future. They had made it to the safe Sona quiet landing site hidden deep in the valley, where June's old transport ship now sat with its engines humming low. It had been a long run. They had crawled through cold mud, hidden from patrols, moved without lights, slept in trees, and crossed frozen streams. But they had made it. Leary sat on the ship's steps, wrapped in Elias's jacket, her small face staring up at the stars in wonder. Soraya stood beside Elias, her hand gently resting on his. She had never looked so calm. June walked out from the ship, chewing on something and grinning. You two look like hell, she said. Elias smirked. Feels about right. June looked at Soraya and Leary. Passengers are ready. I can get you off this rock in 20 minutes. New IDs, new lives, clean start. She looked at Elias. You coming? Elias didn't answer right away. He looked down at Leary. she was whistling again softly, the way she always did when she felt safe. Then he looked at Soraya. She wasn't asking him anything, but her eyes were. "I was never meant to settle," Elias said, almost to himself. "I was built for battle, for orders, for running into danger." He looked around at the quiet valley. "But now, I want to wake up to quiet, to her humming, to you brushing her hair. I want peace not because I'm tired, but because I finally know what it feels like to protect something that's mine." Soraya blinked slowly. "Then come with us." Elias nodded. "I will." June raised an eyebrow. "You sure, soldier? You disappear now. They'll mark you a deserter. You'll lose rank, name, uniform." Elias looked over at Lyre. She saw him and smiled. "Papa." That one word crushed every doubt inside him. "I don't need a uniform anymore," he said. "I've got a new role now." The ship lifted off just before dawn. As they rose into the sky, Elias watched the forest fall away beneath them. The bunker, the mountains, the broken trail they had escaped through. A world full of pain. A world full of war. He was leaving it behind, not alone, but with a new purpose. Weeks passed. The smuggler dropped them at a small settlement on a peaceful, outer planet. Green fields, rivers, clean air. A place where no one cared about the past. Just names and work and simple life. They were given a house near the hills, with a small garden and a view of the stars. Lyre loved it from day one. She chased birds, climbed trees, and made up songs. In 2 languages, Elias built her a swing from old rope and metal. She called it her flying throne. One evening, Elias sat on the front porch, sharpening tools. Lyre ran up and hugged him from behind. She held something in her small hand. It was a drawing, her and Elias holding hands, Soraya beside them, all smiling. "Is this our family?" she asked. Elias looked at the picture for a long time. Then he smiled. "Yes," he said. "It is." That night, Soraya stood beside him under the stars, wearing a soft dress and no longer carrying the weight of fear in her shoulders. Elias gently reached for her hand. "I still don't know if I'm doing everything right." He said. "You don't have to," she replied. "You stayed, you protected. You became ours." He nodded. Then softly, he asked, "Do you still see me as a human who helped you, or something else?" Soraya leaned in. Her lips brushed his cheek, gentle, sure, warm. "Not a mission," she whispered. "Not a savior, not a soldier." She placed her hand on his chest. "Ours." As Lyre's laughter echoed behind them. Elias looked at this woman and child, who had once only needed rescue. Now they had something more. They had each other. And no matter what the stars held beyond this small world, no matter what stories were told or forgotten, this was their beginning. Not of survival, but of love, of healing, of family.